Good morning everyone, welcome to my channel. Okay, I'm about to start a new little series. This is going to be just a simple little Christmas journal that could be used for Happy Mail, could be used for a daily journal, could be just something you throw together while on holidays, and you don't necessarily have to make it Christmas. You could print all sorts of papers and create any theme using this basic technique. So I just wanted to keep this simple because I've put together some kits which some of you have purchased on my Etsy store and some of my family are getting as gifts. So I'm really just creating some little projects out of these elements so that they can view this video. This is my family, can view this video just to get a bit of an idea of how to start journaling, how to sort of get the mind thinking along the lines of creating a little journal. Now, in my kits that I'm giving family, some of the family are around that 13 and 14, and some are a little bit older, sort of my age, into the 50s. So I sort of want to just keep it fairly simple and just brainstorm things you can do with different elements and then let them go for it. So I will make a little journal, which I'll probably just keep for myself using all of these things and sort of see where it goes. It might be a couple little projects within the journal. I'm sort of just not sure where it's going to go, but these are all my favorite elements that I use when I start making a journal. So the first thing is the cover. Now, what I've done is I've got a piece of cardstock, which I'll show you in case you wanted to make one yourself. Just a piece of heavy cardstock, but not too heavy. You want it so it bends nicely. I've used my glue stick and covered it in glue and then just adhered that to some calico, which has given me this plain side. Then once that dried, I picked some Christmas paper and I glue sticked it again and stuck it down again. So now my piece of cardstock is covered with fabric. So it just gives a nice feeling of texture. The next thing I did was whiz around the sewing machine to just add a decorative element. You don't need to do that. If you're not into the sewing machine world, you could hand stitch around there. You could blanket stitch around there. You can do so much with this basic cover. Nice and soft. It's easily tucked into a case, like a travel case if you're doing a little bit of traveling overseas. Now, you've got a couple options. You could do a MIDORI style spine. I think I have one sitting aside here. Just hang on one second and I'll grab it. Okay, here it is. This one here, I've put some grommets in, run some hat elastic through, and then the pages would just slide in. Now these pages would need to be trimmed a little bit more for this style of MIDORI binding. For example, to get the height to work, you'd need to trim your page with a little V top and bottom so that it can slide through and sit comfortably without this being damaged. The other thing, if you're going to fold your journal cover in half exactly, you would then need to trim down all of your pages so that they just sat inside a little bit, because at the moment they're a little bit bigger. Now, if you decided to make a brand new journal cover out of a book, you've got a pretty generic sort of size here, which is an A4 page, trimmed down just a fraction. So your cover, your journal cover, where's my ruler with inches on it so that you would need a journal cover that's about 6 inches. You'd probably get away with 5.5, but 6 would be better. And height-wise, 9 inches. So that's pretty standard sort of journal cover. So these pages would just need to be trimmed down a little if you're going to use this as your cover. if you're going to use MIDORI style as your inserting of your pages, you will need to take this little nick out of it top and bottom so that your pages can slide in. Okay, and that's the start of your Christmas journal. So really simple. The other thing with MIDORI style is, let's say you turn this into a December daily, and in the kit, if you've got the kit, are a series of numbers. So if you want to go down that track where each day you record what happens over Christmas, you get to the end of the season, you can then remove these and your cover is ready to go for next Christmas. So just another option that you can consider with these particular styles of journals. There's so much you can do. Like, oh, I tell you, the mind is just racing at the options. Now, I'm not going to do a MIDORI style. I think I'll stitch my pages in, but I'm not positive yet. I just want to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to put that cover aside, and I've got another one here. I want to include some sewing in this because at the end of the day, I'm a sewer. So if hand sewing's not your thing, you may just want to create a MIDORI or stitch in your pages and then just start decorating. That's fine. What I'm going to try and do is I want to make the cover a little bit off center, something a bit different. I will be stitching them in, I think, pamphlet stitch, or do I do MIDORI? I do like MIDORI because then I can change the papers. Yeah. Just thinking. I'm going to do MIDORI as well. Okay, let me grab my crop-a-dile. And I want to make it so I don't have to adjust my pages. So they're going to sit just inside my little zigzag here. Folding that over so it's a little bit off the center. And then I'm going to try and create something decorative here that extends the journal and potentially becomes a tie for it. That's my idea anyway. So about 4.5 inches is where I'm folding my cover. Oh, we're off on a journey now. Let's get my crop-a-dile out. Now, if you don't have one of my kits, and you won't because I didn't have many available, I will list in the description all of my favourite Christmas kits. And you can go and have a little look. And I'd be pretty confident you know who they all are, and you probably got papers already from other projects that you could easily go and grab. Now I'm going to actually chop it just below the stitching, I think, because I don't want to break that stitching. Okay, so on that fold, I'm just popping a hole. Oh, look, at the end of the day, you can do so much with these covers. I've never done one off center like this. I guess the question too is, do I want the decorative on the outside or the plain? What will I do? Do I do the plain? Then I could really play with fabrics. Yeah, I'm gonna put my grommet like that, so that the calico is on the outside, and then I can really play with the cover, where if I did it the other way, the fabric can restrict what you do with your color choices. And I don't know what they are yet, but let's give ourselves plenty of options. So my Christmas print is going to be on the inside of my journal. So therefore my little grommets use the wrong hole. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Now, for those of you who have the kit, I'm not sure if I'll use all of the bits and pieces within the kit. I really don't know because I'm not sure what I'm going to make yet. But at least you've got a bit of a snapshot of the different bits and pieces that I tend to go to, from textiles through to some of my favourite tags and ephemera. And if you then want to buy more digital prints, you'll know the different designers. If you go to the description below, you'll see some of my favourites down there. Okay. All right, so now we've got this sorted. I'm going to put some hat elastic or fine elastic. You can use any style of elastic, just keep it fairly thin. This one's a 3mm. I do have the elastic that is like a cord. It's like what you'd put around your chin if you were wearing a hat, you know, those cord elastics. That would do the trick. Elastic is a bit hard to find at the moment. I think it's because so many face masks are being made in the world. Hat elastic sort of got used up quite a bit during the process of making. Oh, that's really loose. That didn't work real well. Let's try that again, Corrine. So yeah, you might struggle to find a variety of hat elastics where you used to be able to get every colour under the rainbow. Now you're lucky to get black and white, where I used to see reds and pinks, but yeah, it's gone a little quiet in the hat elastic department. Now I can't undo my knot. Just going to grab a needle, loosen that off. Okay. This with MIDORI style, if you decide to make a certain style of journal and you need to add more pages at some point, you can. When they're stitched in, you're sort of a little bit confined to, you know, my instinct is to have the red on the outside, sort of going against what I'm used to, but that will evolve into something. So our cover is sorted. So now I just want to have a look at these pages, and I have sort of grouped them together with some decorative ones in amongst some of the older papers, some plain, a little bit of French vintage page, some music, some dictionary page. Now, because it's MIDORI, I can actually remove these at any stage and work on them to sort of decorate up. Or if I decide that I want to add more, I can. That's Artymaze. If you're wondering where that gorgeous check comes from, that's Artymaze. For the life of me, I can't remember who this is, but it'll be in the link below by the time I go to upload this video. I think I know who it is, but I just don't want to say it out loud in case I'm actually wrong. So I've clustered my papers together, and at this stage that will do, because I'm just not sure where this project will go. And it gives the person who gets the journal, you know, options. So any pages that were a little bit big, I've tried not to tear them. I've just folded that back in, because that then creates a bit of an opportunity for a flap. So that's what I've done with the bigger pages. And I've done the little snip so that they can slide through. So the first one I've snipped and I know it will work. So I'm going to use that as my guide for the rest. So it's just a case of lining them up. Some won't need it, others will. But if I get them all in position of how I want them to sit, if they get the snip, well then I know that they'll work. So I'm just readjusting. See that lined page, I just folded back a little bit either side. This little guy won't need a snip. That's a bit of straw paper. That's from Rachel. And when I purchased some of her paper kits, I've been hoarding it, so it's time to use it. For goodness sakes, I've just got to use this stuff. So everything's lined up nicely. And my first page has the snip showing me where the snip has to be. Now, if your cover was a little bit bigger, you may not need to do this because your elastic would be, your holes of elastic would be further out from your page. But this is a really good way of adapting. I'm just cutting this now, here and here. So now, especially if you've got a book cover that you just love, but you want to have plenty of room to work in your journal, so you can sort of maintain it all by having plenty of room for pages to work on. So it's just a case of guide them into that little snipped area and you're ready. There they are, they're in. Now for a young person, that is a really easy way for them to make a journal. Now what I want to do is I've made my cover a little bit off center here, so it's nearly a waterfall effect, but not, if you know what I mean. Now let's have a think about what we can do decorating styles. We've got plenty of ephemera, which is simple. Now, being this is a little potential gift, this ephemera, I might actually create an ephemera folder for it all. Give or take those few journal cards. These pieces here, my standard go-to would be to back them on something so that they become a little stronger. So I'm just going to cut that away from there. Excuse me. And these will become journal cards. So I'm trimming off a little excess. That's all ephemera, ephemera, ephemera. They're journal cards that could be written on. So let's eliminate these pieces. And these will be backed on some decorative paper. So you could use coloured paper, some coffee stain paper. I'll probably just use Persian dyed paper. You might have some book page. So let's get ourselves a little bit of prepping happening. All these bits and pieces are just random things that I might use to decorate it. So in the meantime, let's prep these few bits and pieces. Got my glue stick. You don't have to use a glue stick. You can use, art glitter glue and just do the perimeter of all of the artwork and glue it down. I like glue stick because it really covers the whole perimeter of my printed page. And if you get a really good cover on, so this is sort of just a little bit of prep. And then that way they're done, they're ready to go. And in the meantime, this gives me a moment to have a think about what piece I could create for that cover. I'm thinking we might do like something that helps close it. good. Now where's my tool that I use to make sure the glue evenly spreads? You could use a business card for this. And then I flip it over and I do it again. I have a little bit of glue there. So I'm just going to grab a wet one. I'm not sure how long this series will go for. I'm just going to have a little play with all these bits and pieces, see what comes of it. Like I said, some of my relatives are getting this as a gift, this kit, and I just made a few extras to go in my Etsy store. Not a lot, but I guess if my rallies are thinking, what has she done to us? I don't know where to start. I just wanted a little video series for them to refer to if they decided to, you know, really embrace this journal making like the rest of us. Then there's some videos. Hello, those rallies. You know who you are. But you got a little parcel with all these bits and bobs and you're thinking, she's a lunatic. What has she done? What am I supposed to do with this? Well, this will give you a few ideas. Okay, so that's been backed onto some paper, and you could use anything. You could print a digital kit that maybe had script or ruled lines, so that, especially if you gave this to a young person, you might want ruled lines on the back of these cards so that the kids can easily write. Now I'm sliding this under my mat because I want a bit of weight on that piece while we wait for it to dry. This is another one that we'll back. These will make great journal cards. Really simple. Now, if you had a sewing machine, you could take these elements once they're dried and cut them out and take them to your sewing machine and do some decorative stitching on your sewing machine, which I will do because I can't help myself. I really like the look of the sewing machine stitching on pieces. Okay. I guess you could use this series to create something for a gift that was a pack of goodies for someone. Like, you get the basic journal built and then you gift the journal plus the elements for them to sort of finish it off. So I guess you got to have a think about how far you take the project yourself on what you're going to do with it, or it may be for you. So you can just go to town. And those numbers that I've included in the kit, and there'll be a link below, they're fantastic for a daily journal. They're not too big. They're neutral. It's what I'd call neutral, being just the reds and the beige. And you could even, like, well, you'd probably need to add a few more pages to your journal for it. But what I was thinking is some of these numbers, where are they? Some of these numbers can be added to the back of these. So that way, you know, some days you have a lot to say in your journal, and other days you may not have a lot to say. You have a lot to say. So you might find that you're flipping through your journal and you might only want just a little space to write. So day 10 could be a journal card in a pocket instead of a whole page spread. So you don't really need to make sure you've got like 50 odd pages. Page as in one side. So this piece of paper in front of me would be 4 pages. So if you're sort of thinking you need to do the math on a daily journal being 25 days, you probably don't need as many pages as you think you need. Unless, of course, you want to do double spread per day. Well, then, yeah, you can add plenty more pages to it. And being a MIDORI style, you've got freedom. If it was all stitched into the spine, well, then you probably need to have a good think about how many pages you want to work on per day. This is if you're doing a daily journal. I had planned on getting this video up on the 1st of December, but it just didn't happen. Best laid plans. But we're here. At the end of the box journal, I started playing with some envelopes too, to make a flip-flop journal. I don't think I'm going to get time for that. I think that'll just be a project for whenever. It might pop up with a theme other than Christmas, because I've got it prepped. It's just sitting here to the side. I guess if you didn't want to do a cover that is fabric like I'm doing, you could join some envelopes together and make a flip-flop Christmas journal. There's heaps of videos out there now of that type of concertina envelope joined journal. I might just grab it once I glue this down and just show it to you again, just in case you want to go down that track and not do a fabric cover like this one is that I'm working on. So these few elements have now been backed. I'm going to let them dry, and then I'll take them to my sewing machine and I'll stitch around them just to have these. I'll hang on to these bits because you never know. Okay, so I had some red paper that I was actually going to use to back just to pop a bit more red through, but like usual, I just grabbed some coffee stained or tea stained paper. It's a bit of a go-to, isn't it, these days? Now, this envelope flip-flop, which you saw in the last video of the box journal. Another option, if you decide to make a flip-flop, I guess tips on doing it. That's one envelope right there that's been opened up and is flat. Then I got a second envelope and tucked it in here, attaching it as if it was an envelope, but then I opened it up. So if that is simple, one envelope flat, second one attached. And then here is another one that has been attached and then opened up. Now that will probably be reclosed and become a bit of a tuck in there. Then I got an itty bitty envelope and just attached it there. So then it's a case of making it into a concertina. Okay, where I've got a yellow post-it note, that's where I would stitch in some pages. And that's it. So whether that's something that catches your eye for a December daily, that would be a lot of fun to do. And like I said in the description, are heaps of Christmas kits that can be used to, add more papers to your Christmas journal. And they're sort of like all my favourites. Now let's have a look through my morsels here. So we've got some napkins I grabbed out. They will be used to decoupage onto some envelopes, and I just grabbed a few little envelopes here with some cards. They could be made into something, so I'll put them to one side. I've got lots of fabric-y bits, and I've got a charm. I can hear it pinging there, so I've just attached it to that crocheted element. Some paper doilies. Now these could be folded and put within your journal. They can be decorated. Oh, there's so much you can do with all these bits. So what we'll do is we'll just sort through all of it. I've got some little morsels of Christmas fabric here. What I was thinking with these is these would be great tabs. So it'd be just a case of folding them in half, doing a little bit of hand stitching, and then attaching them to the page, and they would be like little tabs, like so, on the edges of the page. They could be cut, and these little snippets of fabric can be used just to glue on pages. Like, it's just endless what you can do with little snippets of fabric. So we've got a few of those. I might just pop a pin in them because they're going to end up in a hang of a mess. So where's a pin? Let's pin them together. I also have some Christmassy words. They're great to decorate. Let's pin that as well together so I don't lose any of it. I have a couple pieces of fabric with Christmas images on it. Then, of course, I have some crocheting. Now, this crocheting is from a doily, and, well, it's endless what you could do with that. You could use it to decorate your journal by gluing it around the spine, especially if you've used pamphlet stitch and stitched in your signatures. You could easily use that to decorate your journal. You could use it as a belly band inside your cover where you would slip some bits and pieces. You could cut it down even more and make, you know, smaller elements out of it. If you slice through the center there, you'd have two pieces. And for a little journal like this, say that was cut, that would be plenty. Look, I've got a phone call coming in, so I'm just going to stop the video. It's 30 minutes in, and I will be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Now, where was I? So pretty much all of these little morsels we have here we'll use to make different ephemera elements as we move through the project. The other thing I wanted to have a little look at is this little piece here. I've scored in here and just folded it. Now what I want to do is make this a little ephemera folder that, you know, bits and pieces can be tucked into, but I do want to embellish it a little bit more. So I plan on actually attaching some calico to the spine. So I might just glue that on so that that can be drying, and then that little job is done. I like the feeling of the calico on the pieces, or muslin. If you're in America, I believe you call it muslin. So I'm just going to use some glue down there. You can use lace. You can leave it as it is. This little piece is from My Porch Prints. It's like a little wrap in one of their kits. And I use it all the time, especially if I want to give someone some little morsels to decorate their journals with, like some fussy cut elements. This just makes a fantastic little piece. Okay. That can dry there. Now I do want to make an enclosure for this, so I might just let that one dry for now, because I don't want to fold it too much, because if the glue is still drying and you start folding things, you get creases, so I can't go too crazy. I do want to create an enclosure, but so I'll probably have to dig out some red ribbon or some lace and attach an enclosure here, so as this wraps around, it will, you know, tie off. So the other thing I want to do is I've got a piece of cardstock here left, so I want to make some little pockets, and I'm thinking I might find some more Christmas, what do you call it? Christmas fabric, or no, maybe I'll just use Calico, because I could cover, yeah, here we go, here's an idea, because I want to do some stitching, can't help myself. So what I might do is just mark some little pockets here that would be the right size. That one would fit as well, yep. And this is going to hold fussy cut elements to go with the journal. But I want to cover these pockets with a bit of fabric just to, oh, that's the right size. What's the odds of that happening? Where's some book page to glue on? I'm going to end up making my, you're probably thinking I'm jumping all over the place here, but I think this video is going to be a little bit like that, because it's just creating little decorative bits and pieces to go in a journal during the month of December. So I think there's going to be a bit of creative license here. So these are going to be little pockets. And I just want that feeling of fabric on the front of the pockets. So you might have some Christmas fabric similar to the colour scheme. I'm just going to use some scraps here. I've always got calico lying around, so to be able to use it and get rid of it is a good thing. And at the end of the day, this is just a little base, and then I'm thinking there'll be a little bit of stitching going on the front of them, but oh, who knows? You just never know where these projects take you. It's just throw all these ingredients in front of you and see what you can make. Okay, so two little itty bitty pockets with some fabric on the front of them. They will need to dry, and they're going to go on the inside here, like that. Let's get that all furred up with some fraying, get a nice look. Now I might even pop on the sewing machine, or will I? I don't know. Don't think I need to. Yep. Let me just clear my desk here a little bit. See, even pieces like this could be stitched onto little elements. Like, oh gosh, it's just unlimited what you can do. But this is definitely going to be a little folio to pop some fussy cut bits and pieces in. So having a couple pockets there is a good start. The other thing is one of them could go on the back, because there'll be a tie going through, and in here you might want to make a belly band. So there's nothing stopping you doing that as well. I could even do, I got a little bit scrap left over. Another idea is we could cut a second pocket. Yeah, okay, we're heading off in another tangent. This little scrap bit here, let's cut that in half. Get my big chopper. How much measurement is that? It's 2 inches. So let's make it a 1 inch. And that is going to be a second pocket going across the front. Now these little pockets that I've created too, if you decided you didn't want to use them in here, add them to your journal. There's no reason why some little fabric covered cardstock backed pockets couldn't go in here as well. You can never have enough pockets. So I'm just going to trim that a little bit. And I might go to my stash of papers. And see what I can find to cover that, to put a pop of colour there. Or is there something in the ephemera that could be used? I don't think. Well, that would fit there. I wonder. Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to cut this piece out. And I'm going to glue I think it will work. Just lining it up. I'm going to just trim it to my size, so then I know. So I'm going to have some little words. Okay, that will work. Where's my glue book? And like I said, if you decide that you want pockets of this nature in your journal, I'm off camera here, aren't I? They're very easy to make using some of these gorgeous kits that are out there. So now I've got those words on my little and then that can go there. Yeah, I like that. So that all needs to dry, and I've still got one. Yeah. So that's a double pocket now. This little guy will go here, and then I wonder if there's something in amongst all that that could be used again. Don't think they're the right size. I think I'll just find some generic Christmas. I'm sure something will come along. Where's my stash of Christmas papers? So I've got plenty left over from the box project. So some of these little bits and pieces are good to use because we just get so many scraps. Maybe I'll just go with, what have we got here? A little bit of red would be nice. I'm just going to glue that onto there. Use that morsel. I like to use bull clips to hold things in order as long as I can, but sooner or later chaos ensues. I'll just pop those scraps in our pile because I'm sure we'll need some bits and bobs. But if you're a hand sewer and you want to do some decorative stitching, go for it. And you could even do a little stitchery each day for your daily journal. That'd be lovely. I'll just trim this little guy out. Okay, just a little pop of colour. Then we could have a little look at some of these words and find something that could potentially slide onto that. Christmas blessings. I like the look of that. What's on there? Good tidings. Eight tiny reindeer. That's cute too. I'm spending way too much time reading and thinking about all this. I'll just do Santa. Do like 8 tiny reindeer too. I like that one. Something different. Might be a little bit big. Oh no, that'll work. Now another element that I like using is cheesecloth. It's just one of those soft fabrics that you can put under tags and pieces of paper that doesn't add too much bulk, but it gives you the feeling of a little bit of fibres and texture. So I'm a bit of a fan of cheesecloth. I'm sure you'll have it in your stash. If you don't have it, well, just look for a really thin, I don't know if I have any even close at hand. Look for a really thin fabric, especially some of these vintage fabrics. They're so thin from being used that they can be little morsels that you can pop behind things. I was hoping I had a little bit of cheesecloth. Maybe I don't. Just looking at these little flowers. No, I sort of have in mind that I want some cheesecloth, but let's have a look at my bigger box of, excuse me as I reach through. There'd have to be something in here. This is like where I just throw scraps of whatever. Look, just bits. There we go. First bit I pick up. I'm just going to, no, it's too bulky. I don't want to waste the space on something too thick because I want to be able to fill it full of ephemera that someone can use in their journal. That's why cheesecloth is good. I do have this in my hand as well. It's a really thin lace. Let's have a little look at that. And I've been nibbling at it. See, look at that. No, it's too big. See, that's interesting. That piece of ribbon has been hanging around for so long. And it's just got a bit of a decorative edge to it. I don't even know where I got it from, but I've only got this bit. See how it's got this little edge? And that little piece fits just inside it, so I'm going to use that. But you could use anything. Oh, there goes my phone again. Goodness me, guys, I'm so sorry. But it's a busy time of the year for me. So I'm just going to stop the video and I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Now, where was I? Oh, what I want to do is I've got my pockets pretty much prepped, ready to go. Well, my double pockets. So I just want to put some paper on the inside. Now, this paper is in one of the kits linked below. So it's just a generic stripe, which I sort of like the look of. So I'm just, and it's a scrap that's left from the box journal project. So I'm just going to tear this down in size and I'm just going to pop that on the inside of this little folder. Now you could also use calico or you could use some Christmas fabric if you wanted the continue the feel of Christmas paper on the inside of your little ephemera folder. So my homework will be to cut out all of those little fussy cut images so that they're ready to play with, not only for myself, I'm going to try and make that the same size I think, but for whoever gets this journal, so they're ready to go and they can just literally decorate. So let's get that little task done as well. All the ephemera cut out, ready to go. So you can see how quickly a little journal can come together. And just try, if it is something that you're gifting, just try and keep it real simple for them to play with. You don't want to overwhelm a first-time journaler, because otherwise it'll just become too much and they just won't pick it up. So it may be that you go through and those numbers, those daily numbers, you add them to different locations through it. You add them to journal cards, like you go through and work out where they all sit. That way they don't need to worry about that. If you think they've got the confidence to actually add all of the numbers, well then maybe just talk that process through with them, and then you'll sort of feel a little more comfortable that they will be, you know, okay. Now I'm going to glue them in there, but will I stitch it all first? So I've got two options. I could jump on my sewing machine and stitch around all of this so that the front has that stitched look. Then on the back, I stitch around these and then attach them, or attach them and do all of the stitching in one go, which I think I will do because it's just simple. So what I'm going to do is get my glue book, and I'm going to glue into position these little pieces. And then once that all dries, as my homework, I can do a little bit of stitching around everything. The other thing I might do as my homework, so when I come back in the next video, it'll be sort of done, is I might go through the pages within the journal itself and do some stitching. I sort of tend to work in one task through the whole project completed before I go on to the next thing. And these are sort of tasks that what I would class as just basic elements to getting it ready to use. Like if I wanted stitching around all those pages, I'd go ahead and you know, stitch them all in one foul swoop, then it's done. So if you don't have a sewing machine but you can access a sewing machine maybe at a friend's place, at least then you've got all your elements figured out that you want stitching, and away you go. Do your stitching and then you don't need the sewing machine again. So I'm thinking I'm going to do that as part of my homework. I've attempted to line the stripes up the best I could, but stripes are a challenge, as we all know, but that's not too bad. I'll put some calico through here as well. May as well. And I might come down there with my sewing machine with a zigzag stitch just to add a bit of a decorative element. Or will I do it after? No, I'm going to do it now. Try not to overthink this all too much, because it just, I don't want to get bogged down in the detail. You know, we tend to do that to ourselves, and then you run a risk of the project becoming a little bit overwhelming. Try not to do that. Great. So that can all dry now. Yeah, that's ready for the sewing machine. We've got our pockets prepped and our little pockets there prepped. Got a little one here as well. And then that's ready to be stuffed with goodies that will go with the journal. Okay, I think that's all I can do on that really until I let that all dry. So I might just pop that aside. Got a few little scraps there. So I'm just going to pop this on the bench behind me and that will go to the sewing machine. So that's easy. Now let's come back to this. What I'm going to do with this is I'm also going to take this to the sewing machine and run around the exterior of these pages so that it gives that stitched element to the little journal as well. I'm going to leave them in that order because I'm really happy with that. But I'm going to just whiz around and add some decorative stitching. The pieces of paper that are really thin, I probably won't because I don't want to puncture the paper and it just disintegrate. And some of these old ones are a bit that way, especially that William Shakespeare page. This French paper, that can handle it. It's nice and strong. Yeah, the dictionary paper, it's probably a little soft, so I might leave that. That one can be done. The general dyed paper, that one can handle it. That one can, and that one can. And I guess this is your time now. If you wanted to add more pages, you could. I do have this page here as well, which needs to go in as well. I forgot him. He can slide in there somewhere as well. Yep. Okay. So that's good. So homework there is to stitch around all those. So I'll put that to one side. Okay, now I think we're sort of getting to the end of the video, but what I want to do, have a think about next is a piece to go here in the way of stitching. So I might just have a rummage for some calico. Here's our strip again. And maybe this is the start of something. Well, I'm definitely going to need some calico as a base to stabilize my work. So there's a selvage here. Let's get rid of that. I might just bring it down a little bit so I get a pink of the red. I've really lost track of how long this video is, so I'm going to have to be a little bit cautious here. So that will go there as a bit of a decorative element. Okay, I need to have a think about this. So in the next video, I'll come back with a plan of attack. I do have a panel which could be utilised as part of it. I have these little ones, could also be used. I don't know. And then I have my little snippets. I have some more spare panels. I'm not a lover of that one. These are all the scraps left over from when I put the kits together. So there's all sorts in here. Where are they all? I'm going to reject this one. It just doesn't do much for me. So I'll leave those aside because I think we can figure out something, and maybe I'll just pick a different Santa. I do like that one. I don't know. I'm going to have a think about it. There's definitely going to be a slow stitch piece here. In behind it or attached to it will be some ribbons that will then tie the little journal together. So that's where I'm heading with the cover. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here. I really don't know how long this went. I'm hoping it's not over time and not too short of a time. It should be fine-ish. So I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.